Humans? Are we truly wasting time debating them? Supreme Strategist Korlak's voice sliced through the chamber, his contempt palpable. His armored form glinted under the council's ceremonial lights, and his predatory gaze swept across the gathered delegates. They are insects, barely worth the cost of deployment. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the High Council of the Galactic Empire, seated in their gilded chamber aboard the Imperial flagship Dominance. Towering pillars of crystalline light cast long shadows over the alien dignitaries, a stark reminder of the Empire's vast, ancient power. At the center of the semicircular table, Emperor Talver leaned forward, his multi-eyed visage exuding cold authority. His voice, amplified by the chamber's acoustic enhancers, carried an ominous weight. And yet, these insects dare to resist us. Their refusal to join the Empire undermines our authority. If this defiance spreads, he let the sentence hang, allowing the implied consequences to seep into every corner of the room. Let them spread defiance, Korlak countered with a sneer. Crush one, and the rest will fall in line. Crushing them is no longer optional, Talver said. His tone sharpened, and the chamber fell silent. A holographic display materialized above the table, showing Earth, a lush blue orb suspended in the void. They rejected our envoys. They destroyed a scouting fleet near their solar system. Now they mock us with their so-called warning. The display flickered, and the human transmission played. A resolute voice echoed through the chamber. This is Earth's final message. We will not bow. We will not surrender. Leave, or you will regret coming closer. Laughter erupted among the delegates, a cacophony of disdainful clicks and guttural growls. Korlak slammed a clawed hand on the table. Regret? From them? They barely scratched the surface of spacefaring technology. Talver silenced the room with a raised hand. And yet, their arrogance intrigues me. They fight not with desperation but with conviction. That makes them unpredictable. He stood, his imposing figure casting a shadow over the council. But conviction is no match for power. We shall remind them of their place. A ripple of anticipation spread through the council. Talver's decree was final. On Earth, deep beneath the Rockies, humanity's leaders watched the transmission with grim expressions. The underground command bunker hummed with activity as military personnel rushed between stations. Satellite images of the Galactic Empire's fleet filled the central screen, a veritable armada blotting out the stars. President Emma Callahan stood at the head of the table, her sharp eyes scanning the room. The weight of the moment pressed heavily on her, but her voice remained steady. We've tried diplomacy. We've sent warnings. They've chosen war. General Marcus Hayes, a grizzled Marine with decades of combat experience, leaned forward. Then we give them war. But this won't be like anything they've seen before. We won't meet them on their terms. We'll fight on ours. What's the plan, General? Callahan asked, her voice firm. Hayes smirked, his scarred face betraying a flicker of dark humor. We send the Marines. The room fell silent. The Marines, the tip of humanity's spear, were legendary even among Earth's military. Trained for every environment, every contingency, and every enemy, they embodied the resilience and ingenuity that defined humanity. Do they even know what a Marine battalion is? A younger officer murmured, earning a few grim chuckles. They'll find out, Hayes replied. He turned to a subordinate. Activate Operation Spearhead. I want every battalion prepped and ready for deployment in 72 hours. The Marine base buzzed with controlled chaos as soldiers prepared for war. Rows of advanced dropships gleamed under floodlights, their surfaces etched with both modern weaponry and personal touches. Hand-painted symbols, slogans, and names. Sergeant Jack Torrance strode through the armory, his combat boots echoing against the steel floors. His team was already suiting up, their faces a mixture of focus and anticipation. "All right, listen up," Torrance barked, his voice cutting through the din. The squad snapped to attention. "You've all seen the footage. The Empire thinks we're soft. They think we're easy. They're wrong. Our mission is simple. Show them what humans do when pushed. No mercy. No hesitation. Aura!" The Marines roared in unison. Torrance allowed himself a tight smile. "We're heading to their backyard. Let's make sure they never forget who came knocking." The last of the dropships lifted off, joining a massive fleet of Earth's warships streaking toward the stars. As the Earth receded behind them, Torrance gazed out at the void, his mind already on the coming battle. "They declared war on the wrong species," he muttered under his breath. Back on the Dominance, Korlak surveyed the deployment of Empire troops with satisfaction. "Prepare for glory," he told his subordinates. "The humans will learn their place in the shadow of the Galactic Empire." But as Earth's fleet surged forward, its soldiers united in defiance, the Empire was about to learn a lesson of its own, one written in blood and fire. The jungle moon of Calzer 7 was a humid, green inferno, its thick canopy blotting out the sun and shrouding the terrain in perpetual twilight. The Empire's ground forces had established a sprawling outpost near a river, their gleaming silver structures stark against the natural chaos of the jungle. Patrols moved in predictable patterns, their confidence bolstered by their superior technology and numbers. Hidden among the dense foliage, Sergeant Jack Torrance crouched, his visor scanning the scene below. His squad of Marines was scattered along the ridge, their movements silent and methodical. "This is what they call a fortress," Private Diaz muttered through the comms. "Looks like a shiny toy box." Torrance smirked. "Keep it down, Diaz. We'll see how shiny it is once it's on fire." "Recon reports, Sergeant," Corporal Jenkins whispered, adjusting her scope. 12 sentries on the west side. 3 automated turrets. No sign of aerial support. Their comms tower is smack in the middle of the compound. "Perfect," Torrance replied. He tapped his wrist-mounted display, sending a synchronized attack plan to his squad. "We hit hard. We hit fast. Take out the turrets first. Diaz Jones, you're on Overwatch. Everyone else, you're with me." On my mark, the Marines waited, their breathing steady despite the tension. The faint hum of alien patrol drones drifted through the trees, and the distant chatter of Empire soldiers carried on the humid breeze. Mark, the jungle erupted in coordinated chaos. Silent sniper rounds whizzed through the air, dropping sentries before they could react. Explosive charges ripped through the turrets, sending shrapnel and smoke skyward. Torrance led the charge, his squad weaving through the undergrowth like phantoms. Plasma bolts from the Empire soldiers hissed past them, but the Marines' precision left little room for a counterattack. Torrance's rifle barked, cutting down a squad of Empire soldiers before they could reach cover. Inside the command center, the Empire's lieutenant snarled at the chaos unfolding on the monitors. "What is this? A planetary uprising?" "Negative, sir," an officer stammered. "It's a single battalion of humans." "Impossible," the lieutenant snapped, his claws digging into the console. "Deploy reinforcements." "Crush them." The Empire's reinforcements surged out of the compound, a mix of heavy infantry and hover tanks. Torrance's squad pulled back to the ridge, their retreat deliberate and controlled. "Sergeant, they're bringing the big guns," Jenkins warned, her scope tracking a lumbering hover tank that was advancing toward their position. "Good," Torrance said, his voice calm. "Let them come." From their elevated vantage point, the Marines unleashed a second wave of destruction. Shoulder-mounted rocket systems streaked through the air, their warheads slamming into the tanks with surgical precision. The explosions shook the jungle, leaving only twisted wreckage in their wake. Empire soldiers, now disoriented and leaderless, began to falter. Torrance seized a moment. "Push forward," he ordered. The Marines descended on the compound like a tide, their disciplined movements contrasting sharply with the Empire's panic retreat. Torrance kicked down a door to the command center and fired without hesitation, neutralizing the officers inside. He approached the console, uploading a virus to disable the Empire's local communications. "Mission accomplished," Jenkins reported, covering the perimeter as the squad regrouped. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the jungle in eerie shadows, Torrance's squad held their position. The compound was in ruins, its defenses obliterated, its soldiers scattered. "Empire sure talks big," Diaz said, crouching beside a smoking turret. "They're not used to a fight like this," Torrance replied, scanning the darkening jungle. "They rely on overwhelming force and intimidation. We don't scare easy." Before the squad could relax, the sound of approaching reinforcements rumbled through the jungle. Torrance raised a fist, signaling silence. "They're regrouping," Jenkins whispered. "Let them," Torrance said, his jaw tightening. "They're walking into a trap." The Empire's High Council receiving fragmented reports of the battle. "Our forces overwhelmed," an elder alien delegate said, disbelief dripping from every word. "Yes," the messenger stammered. "The humans, they're hunters. They don't fight by the rules. Hunters." Supreme Strategist Korlak scoffed, though his eyes betrayed unease. "They are primitives. They cannot hold against the full might of the Empire." But as the Council debated their next move, the jungle moon was telling a different story. The Empire's reinforcements, confident in their numbers, marched deeper into the shadows, only to find themselves ensnared. Explosions erupted from hidden mines. Camouflaged Marines emerged from the foliage, striking with precision and vanishing before the Empire could retaliate. It was warfare unlike anything the Empire had faced before. Torrance's voice echoed in the dark. "They thought we were prey. Let's show them who's hunting who." The night sky over Kalzur seven blazed with fire as the Empire deployed its ultimate weapon, the dreadnought Imperium's Wrath. The massive vessel descended from orbit, its silhouette blocking out the stars. From its underbelly, an army poured forth. Mechanized walkers, legions of shock troopers, and swarms of drone fighters. In the jungle below, Sergeant Jack Torrance's squad watched the spectacle, their faces illuminated by the fiery glow of the descending reinforcements. The ground trembled beneath them as the Empire's forces moved like a tidal wave, destroying everything in their path. "They've brought everything," Corporal Jenkins murmured, her grip tightening on her rifle. "Good," Torrance replied, his voice calm and resolute. "Saves us the trouble of hunting them down." The squad wasn't alone. Across the jungle, hidden among the shadows, hundreds of Marines prepared for the final stand. Torrance keyed his comms, speaking to every soldier on the battlefield. "Listen up, Marines. This is it. They think they can crush us with numbers, with machines, with brute force. But they've forgotten who we are. They've forgotten what humans do when pushed. Today, we remind them." A chorus of determined voices replied over the comms. "Aura." The Empire's forces surged forward, their formations precise, their firepower overwhelming. Torrance's squad held the line, using the dense jungle to their advantage. Trip mines and remote explosives turned pathways into death traps. Camouflage snipers picked off officers and drone controllers, sowing chaos in the ranks. But the Empire's numbers seemed endless. Plasma bolts tore through trees, lighting the jungle with bursts of energy. Walker units crushed undergrowth as they advanced, their cannons leveling entire sections of the forest. Torrance crouched behind a fallen tree, his squad pinned by relentless fire. "Jenkins, status on air support?" 2 minutes out, Jenkins replied, her voice strained as she returned fire. We don't have 2 minutes, Torrance muttered. His mind raced, searching for a solution. Then his eyes fell on the remains of a downed Empire tank, its plasma core still glowing faintly. Diaz, Jones with me, Torrance ordered. The trio sprinted through the chaos, weaving between explosions and gunfire. Reaching the tank, Torrance pried open the core's access panel. What's the plan, Sarge? Diaz asked, his tone wary. Improvisation, Torrance said with a grim smile. He rigged the core with explosives, turning it into a massive makeshift bomb. Get clear, Torrance ordered, detonator in hand. As the Empire's walkers closed in, Torrance pressed the trigger. The explosion was deafening, a wave of heat and shrapnel that obliterated the front line of the Empire's assault. Torrance and his squad dove for cover, the shockwave rattling their bones. Hell of a fireworks show, Jones muttered, coughing through the smoke. Still more coming, Torrance said, his voice steady despite the odds. Above the battlefield, Earth's air support finally arrived. Sleek human strike fighters roared through the skies, their missiles locking onto the Imperium's RAF. The dreadnought's shields flickered under the assault, its cannons struggling to target the agile craft. On the ground, Torrance's calm crackled to life. This is Captain Andrews of the Valkyrie. We've got the big one in our sights. Suggest you clear the area. Copy that, Torrance replied, rallying his squad. Marines fall back. As the soldiers retreated deeper into the jungle, the Valkyrie unleashed its payload, a barrage of kinetic rods, traveling at hypersonic speeds, struck the Imperium's RAF. The dreadnought's hull buckled and cracked, explosions rippling along its massive frame. With a final, thunderous blast, the Empire's flagship disintegrated, its debris raining down on the battlefield. The remaining Empire forces faltered, their cohesion shattered. By dawn, the jungle was silent. Torrance's squad stood among the ruins of the Empire's outpost, battered but victorious. The ground was littered with the remnants of alien machinery and the bodies of their defeated foes. Jenkins approached Torrance, her helmet under one arm. It's over, Sarge. We did it. For now, Torrance said, his gaze fixed on the horizon. But they'll be back. The Empire doesn't take losses lightly. Then we'll be ready, Jenkins replied, her tone resolute. Torrance nodded. Damn right, we will. Far away, in the Empire's Grand Council chamber, silence reigned. The delegates stared at the reports, unable to comprehend the magnitude of their defeat. Supreme Strategist Korlak slammed his fist on the table. This cannot be. They are mere humans. They are humans, Emperor Talver said, his voice low and grim. And we underestimated them. That mistake will not happen again. But deep in the Emperor's many eyes, there was a flicker of doubt, a seed planted by humanity's defiance. Back on Earth, the Marines received a hero's welcome, though Torrance remained subdued. As he watched the celebrations, he turned to Diaz and said, They'll remember this day, but so will we. We're not just fighting for survival. We're showing them what it means to be human. With that, Torrance raised a glass to his squad, to the fallen, to the fighters, and to the next fight. The Marines roared in agreement. Humanity had won the day, but the stars still held many battles to come.